The doubles flex Y-off close formation is one of the best offenses in all of Madden 26, and it's one of the best formations in the game. You could find it in a lot of different playbooks, and what we're going to be breaking down here is we're just going to simply be breaking down the best way to run the best amount of plays from this formation. And essentially what you want to do as far as a coaching adjustments, one of the best tips that I can give you for your coaching adjustments here is to set your auto pass protection. Now, some people like to set their auto pass protection to base, and that's good for some blitzes. It kind of depends a little bit on what the defense is doing that you're playing. Personally, I like empty for the most part, and then if they're running a blitz that I can't block an empty, then I will switch to base. But in general, these are pretty much the two best pass protections that you can have, to simply just automatically set that to every single play. Now for the formation itself, as far as like where do we put our receivers and how do we want to structure this, the biggest thing that you want to make sure that you do is you want to put your best route running receiver at the slot receiver position, as he is going to be important to be able to beat man-to-man coverage consistently. Other than that, it pretty much comes down to speed in this game, and you want fast receivers everywhere that you can get them. And then obviously you want as good of a tight end as you possibly can get. Your backfield, in the backfield, you want to have a running back with good speed, good height, good agility, all of that. And then of course the best lineman possible. As far as the best audibles for the doubles flex Y-off close formation, it kind of depends on whether or not you're going to be coming out in the formation itself, or if you're going to be audibling to it from another formation. If you're going to be audibling to it from another formation, these are my recommended audibles, because these are the best passing plays that you want to have access to, really regardless of what version of this play of this formation you're running. The play Y sail, flood H post, motion angle Y wheel, and PA snag. However, let's say that you are running this offense and this is going to be your primary formation, and you're going to be basing on this formation. You're going to be coming on in every single play. I like to go ahead and put a running play in here, primarily for the main purpose of simply if they give me a good run look, I'm going to be able to take advantage of that. You could put the RPOs in here. You could put the read option here. In general, I like just the basic inside zone. I think it just keeps it simple, and these would be the plays that I would go to in that situation. One other thing is, again, kind of just depends on what your favorite base play is. Personally, I think PA snag is still a top 5 base play in all of Madden 26. So I'm going to be coming out in that play the majority of the game. And then I'm going to put flood H post in that other audible slot. And then if I ever want to come out in anything else, I can just simply come out in it with, this being my main formation. So once we're all in the field, a kind of rule of thumb for this formation is to run this with your tight end to the wide side of the field. Now, again, this is a general principle. Again, just a basic general rule of thumb. This is going to provide probably the best spacing for the formation. It also allows you to do things like this, like audibling or motioning your running back out to put him on, routes that can help you beat a variety of different coverages. So I love to run this formation as a general rule with my tight end to the short side of the field. Now, that being said, one of the things that I wanted to show you is coming out in this formation, something that I do, especially if this is going to be your number one formation. You could also do this, kind of however you would want to, but essentially all that is just flipping the formation. So for example, a simple flip of the formation is going to mess up their adjustments, get them misaligned and things like that. And oftentimes it's going to make it easier for you to set your plays up before the defense is set, and then you can snap the ball. So one of the big rules of thumb when I run this offense is I generally am going to run this with my tight end to the wide side of the field. But as far as how I actually use it in game, I'm normally going to come out with my tight end to the short side of the field, whether that be in this formation or a formation that I'm just going to come out in and then audible into doubles. And I'll show you an example of that. So for example, if I'm going to be coming out in my bunch X nasty, what I would then do is I would come out in the bunch X nasty flipped. I would then flip the bunch X nasty, and then I would audible into doubles as a secondary audible. Just a simple way that you can, kind of like give the defense a little bit to think about, depending on what your formation is and how you're going to actually run the offense as a whole. This is just a simple tactic that you can use that will kind of make the offense a little bit more of a pain to deal with. So one of my favorite base route combinations out of the play PA snag is as follows. It's kind of a standard one. It's been good for the last couple of years. But basically what we're going to do here is we're going to drag route our slot receiver. We're going to corner route our tight end. We're going to slot fade our outside little receiver on the right side, and then we're going to flat the running back. Also, real quick, as far as how I'm going to refer to people, I'm going to try to do a good job of this. I'm going to refer to Keenan Allen here as the slot receiver. I'm going to refer to Quentin Johnson here as the outside receiver or the outside left receiver. And then I'm going to refer to Ladd McConkey on the right-hand side here as the solo wide receiver because he doesn't have a slot receiver on his side. He has a tight end. Okay. And then obviously I'll refer to the tight end and the running back as the tight end and the running back. Now, the reason this play are fairly straightforward, what you want to be doing is you want to be essentially reading this high-low to the right side of the screen. You have a slot fade. The primary purpose of that is to essentially just be a simple clear out route for your corner route and your flat route. Now, if they are a player that likes to switch stick, then of course you're going to need to pay attention to that, and you're going to need to hit that slot fade if they do switch stick onto the outside quarter. But in general, when people see a slot fade, they normally aren't going to switch stick a corner route. They're going to have to. They're going to do it a little bit differently. They're going to switch stick from the lower flat defender or something like that. So this is just basic cover for hard flat, a very popular defense in this game. And what you're going to see is if we wait on this, you're going to be able to throw that corner route here to the sideline on that right side of the screen. Now, this is also going to work against a cover for hard flat, a cover for cloud flat. So what's going to happen with the cover for curl flat defense is that curl flat will kind of go a little bit more depth, but eventually that tight end corner will clear that curl flat, and you're going to be in a position for that route to get open. Now, one of the best ways that they can actually defensively counter this within a zone coverage defense is to simply run something like this, where they're going to be running a cover two. And if they do run a cover two coverage, then essentially that cloud flat is going to back up pretty significantly, and you're going to want to check down to either your running back flat route or your drag route. As you're noticing, the drag route runs pretty quickly across the field. And so kind of an alternate setup that I also like to do, especially with the way that chipping and movement works in this game, would be to take my running back and put him on a swing. The reason I like to swing is because the swing route is going to pull the flat defender quickly, and then you can throw this drag kind of in this little soft spot of the defense on that backside. This is also really, really effective for any kind of cover three or cover four, which we're going to show you right here. So again, I'm going to use that running back on the swing, and you see how this just gets a little bit better in terms of the spacing element of everything for zone. That being said, kind of do whatever you want as far as how you want to set this up. The other thing is, for them to defend the drag well, they're either going to have to use the drag in that underneath middle, or they're going to have to shade their coverage underneath. And if they shade their coverage underneath and they go to the tight end, then what you're going to be looking for here is this backside post kind of being thrown in front of the safeties, just like that. A super simple read, but a super effective read, primarily to attack cover three and cover four. And then if they do decide to run some man-to-man coverage here, there are also things that this play is going to do really good against man coverage. One of the best routes to beat man coverage in this game is this short corner route to the tight end. As you see, he gets kind of a sharp cut. You can pass that down into the outside or freeform that down into the outside, possession catch that, and that's going to be a really consistent play for you to be able to attack man-to-man. And then let's say that the tight end or the user decides that he's going to kind of play the drag a little bit, but then play the tight end a little bit. One of the best backside routes that you have is this sharp cutting post route against man coverage. Normally going to be really, really consistent for you in terms of its capability to be able to beat man coverage. I will show that one more time. And what you're going to see here is on this cut, this outside receiver here on the left, passing that down into the inside, or freeform that down into the inside. And as you can see, it gets into a nice soft spot against the defense. One of the next setups I absolutely love out of the play PA Snag is a simple high-low read that's going to do a really, really good job of attacking the middle of the field and putting the user on a lot of constraints. So if we were kind of thinking about like a standard coverage that you might see, it would realistically be something like this. They're going to play cover two to that tight end side to kind of help with that short corner. And then on this backside here, you might get something like this. And ultimately, most people are going to be in a send four. If they're sending three a lot, most people just don't do that. Most people are going to be in a send four. So that means that you're typically going to have one or two yellow zones, depending on how they set this up. So what I like to do with this secondary setup here is drag the tight end, table route the running back, and streak the slot receiver. So the reads on this play is I'm always going to look to that seam streak first to see, are the yellow zones staying low to the drag or carrying high. If the yellow zone's back up with that slot streak, then I'm gonna look to hit that tight end right in this little soft spot of the yellow. So what you're gonna see here is the yellows kind of drift back. I can throw that tight end for a quick read right in that little pocket of the field. Another thing that a lot of people like to do is they'll play kind of more of a kind of cover 3 cloud type of deal, where you're going to get that cloud flat, and then on this backside here, you might get like a vert hook or something like that. Just kind of depends a little bit on how they want to set this up. But effectively, what this basically means here is a lot of people like to curl flat this left side. When they curl flat this left-hand side, you're going to see here that this tight end is going to be wide open. You see how that curl flat really goes to that seam, and then we're able to hit this tight end cross on that little crossing pattern, right, super, super well. So now what they're going to have to do is they're basically forced to have a hard flat and a shaded down yellow over here on the left side. And then if they're playing like a cover 3 cloud or something like this, then what's going to typically happen is this seam streak could be a read right over the yellows, or you see that little pocket that then opens up that he's able to create because of that route. So now the defender that kind of becomes the conflict player, the defender that has to kind of essentially solve that problem, is really the user. And so if the user rises up to the middle to go to the post route, then what that does is it opens up this little hitch on this right-hand side. So as you see here, that hitch is open. I guess I'm sorry, I didn't realize that the mid read would stay down like that. Let me show that one more time. So effectively, right, if I'm usering this, I'm going to hard flat this guy. I've got the yellow here, but I'm also going to need my user to play that. And so because I need my user to play that deep middle area of the field, then what should open up as a result is this little hitch. You're going to see he just kind of sits into a soft spot of the defense. It's a really, really good read against people that like to run a lot of zone coverage, and you see kind of why that is effective there. So now that basically means that they are essentially force-fed into playing a coverage defense that kind of looks like this, and they just kind of run out of people to drop. And so they might try to like user the tight end drag and then get back up top to the vertical route. But again, like I said, most people are going to be blitzing 4 in this game generally. And so when they start to really overextend themselves in zone, as you see, I can also playmaker. I can playmaker this route to circle. I don't know why we're not able to playmaker there. Shout out to them changing buttons and stuff and me getting old, I guess. But we'll show it one more time. So again, just the idea here is simply that the yellow zone can't guard it the whole way, and so this can definitely be just a great check down route for you to have. So that is kind of one of the variations of PA Snag. And like I said, it kind of ultimately forces them into specific coverage adjustments that is going to be problematic for them. The next one is what we're going to show you. And this one, you can do this out of PA Snag. You can also do it out of Y Sail. It's a little easier out of Y Sail, but I'm going to show it out of PA Snag just because I love PA Snag in this game. I think it's just a really, really good play again this year. But essentially what we're going to be doing here is we're going to put this outside or the solo wide receiver on a corner route. We're going to stem him all the way down. We're then going to put that swing or hard flat, that's up to you, that swing or flat over there on the right. We're going to then streak this tight end to kind of clear out that deep half. And then I love to use just a basic, if you want to use a basic in route, you want to use a return route, or you want to use a drag route. Any of those 3 routes are good with me. And essentially now you have that high low to the right. But the purpose of the play is to be able to attack cover 2. If they cover 2 that right side of the field, this is going to do a really good job of getting over the top. As you see, that corner route does a really nice job of simply just clearing that cover 2 cloud, and it's able to get over the top of the defender. So then what they're going to basically do is they're probably going to have some type of soft squat on this right-hand side. And when they start to soft squat like this is going to leave them vulnerable to other things as well. So when they do the soft squat, this is where I really like the swing route. But you can do, like I said, you can do the table route as well. But essentially what's going to happen is that running back is going to pull that soft squat down, and you see that this route is going to get over the top and get into a really nice window and area for them to have a difficult time defending. So now they have to kind of basically make a choice because they chose to play defense like this. Now, another thing they could do is they could run this cover 3 cloud, and I want to show you something really interesting about this formation. So As I said, the user kind of has to make a choice. Am I going to use her over on the tight end side, or am I going to use her over on the double side? If they use her over on the double side here, and to illustrate that, I'm going to just cross man him onto the post. If they're worried more about the post route, then what's going to happen is against cover 3 cloud type defenses, this tight end streak is just going to be wide open for you to be able to throw that. And if you can split those safeties, it's a really, really nice read to be able to make that's going to put the defense in a lot of trouble, put them in a lot of conflict. And so because of that, the user probably kind of has to hang over a little bit more to that right side of the field, especially when they're running that cover 3 cloud, because this is a huge kind of like area of vulnerability. So the user is going to kind of hang over here a little bit more. And now this is where you're going to kind of get this backside stuff where this post route is really, really open in this situation, depending again on how they play it. But it depends a little bit on how they switch stick, right? But as you'll see here, that post route gets wide open underneath that tight end when they're kind of using that tight end up the middle. And then if the yellow zone drops back that far, you can obviously hit your drag route underneath. And then this also just gives you kind of some more answers as well against man coverage, because if they're running like off coverage man, now you have a different receiver on the corner route. And so that receiver can do a pretty good job of attacking man coverage. As you see, he gets that outside leverage, and then we're going to try to throw that. Stokes made the play of his career there. Let me try to show that one more time. Herbert kind of sold on the pass lead. But essentially, we want to stem the corner down. If you just stem it, I mean, you can stem it down all the way or stem it down once. I like all the way, but anyway, you see a lot of times, see how he just dusted that corner, and then that right there can happen. And so there's so much risk reward in running cover 0 in this game. I just feel like ultimately it's not that big of a deal, and you have a lot of answers for cover 0, because on the same exact play, let's say that they, don't route commit inside, or they, they shade outside or whatever reason, or, whatever. They're just basically, they're more worried about the corner route than the post route. Well, now my post route on this right-hand side, is going to be something that I have as an answer if the tight end would actually run his route properly. We'll show that one more time here. So if the tight end runs his route properly and they go over to take away the corner or the drag, by the way, the drag will be wide open too if there's not a bunch of flats, but you see that's wide open over the middle. And then just for sake of illustration, right, if they run, standard 2-man under type of look, then what you're going to be able to do now is you're going to be able to really hit this drag coming across the middle. As you see, he just is going to win. And normally he's going to be a great read for you to have to be able to beat man coverage on this play. So one of the cooler new setups out of PA Snag this year is actually kind of a smash return type of setup that really haven't seen up until this year. So how I like to run this play, and it's really good for a lot of different things that people are going to do, is basically drag the tight end. We're going to return route this outside or solo wide receiver. We're going to streak the slot wide receiver, and then we're going to table route the running back. So it looks like this. Very similar to the first variation of, or one of the earlier variations of this play. But what makes this really good is it gives you a little bit more of a man-to-man answer, which I really like. And it still has a lot of the elements that I really like about it against different defenses. So anyways, main thing here is we're always looking to this left side to see if we can throw this tight end drag. If that, I call that like a gift throw. That's one of those things where make the game easy. Have those quick throws that you can make consistently. They just make the game so much easier. So I love having that because that forces a shade underneath, and it automatically puts conflict for the user because the user has to go to the post basically on this play. Even if they're in a cover 3 or a cover 2 to the left, doesn't really matter. They're still going to have to basically roll back up on the post. And then what that's going to do is it's going to allow this really cool window right here for this return route. That is almost impossible to defend with switch stick. It's almost impossible because there's so much spacing between the post and the return route within a zone defense that it's just a really, really good play. And then if we go back to kind of the other situation where maybe these yellow zones are going to be drifting back a little bit more to defend seam streaks and things like that, well, now not only is your tight end going to be open, but watch how this return route just gets in a really soft spot right there against that yellow zone. That hook curl defender might defend him on the initial, but he's not going to be able to defend him on the other aspect of the route. So just one of my favorite routes in the game this year for being able to attack zone coverage. As far as I said, it gives you a little bit more of an answer, if you will, against man-to-man coverage. And the reason being is because not only do you have your tight end drag and your post now, but you also have this return route. So first and foremost, right, tight end drag is just money, right? That tight end drag, really good against man coverage, really difficult to defend that. But also one of the best and most popular ways that people like to play man this year is with two hard flats. And so if they play that man coverage with two hard flats, what's going to happen is this little return route, as you see him just cook the man coverage defender, that is what you're going to see. It's going to have that return route, which then they have to kind of sit on as a user. The user has to basically respect the fact that we could throw that in route. And then what's going to be able to happen as a result of that is if the user stays underneath for the in route, then we're going to be able to throw the other one. Let me actually just set the play up real quick. I apologize. And then I'll show you one other setup that I love. Maybe another one, we'll see. But just a really nice route, as you see right there. I mean, just hits this really soft spot of that man coverage. Very difficult to user. Another route that I love, if you're ever getting a lot of match coverage, this is something that I love to do out of this playbook. I'm going to actually go into dollar, and we're just going to pick. I'll actually just grab a couple match coverages. I'm going to grab quarters. I'm going to grab palms, and then I'm going to grab that cover 3 buzz match. Those are just different variations of match. I'll come out in cover 6. And then we're still going to be in that PA snag. But what we're going to do now is, and I'll show it first against quarters, and then we'll kind of work from there. But basically what I like to do when I'm facing a lot of match coverage is a play like this. It's essentially just a streak, a drag, and then a flat. So it looks like that. The reason this is good is because against match coverage really, really struggles to defend any kind of like crossing pattern or thing like that. So effectively, what we're really looking for is basically which crosser gets open. Normally, the tight end drag, shocker, is going to be there for you, especially the bottom line is just these quarter flat defenders are going to really struggle. So, for example, let's say it's like cover 6, kind of a unique match coverage, then we're still going to be in a pretty good spot here. You're going to see that our tight end is going to cross, the slant is going to cross, the post is going to cross. Those all are answers for match coverage because we're crossing so many players, they can't really like zero in on one. It's going to be hard to switch stick this play because these are shorter crossers. But I think that tight end drag is just one of the most consistent route combinations that I have for attacking match consistently. The other thing about this one is it's going to do a really good job against palms as well. So if you get cover 4 palms or anything like that, this is going to do a really good job because against palms, you're normally able to hit those slants and posts. So if we didn't get shedded right there, you would have seen what I was talking about. Notice, by the way, the tight end drag is still open. So again, if I'm the user and I see this tight end running wide open here, I've kind of got to go guard him, right? If I don't go guard him, you're just going to throw the ball to the tight end. But if I do go guard the tight end, right, then I can't really guard this, this slant, as you see right here. And they just work really, really well in terms of their capability to attack variety of match coverages. And then obviously cover 3 buzz match. Cover 3 buzz match is one of the better match coverages that you can actually get in this game. But what you're going to see is kind of the same thing, right? They're going to really struggle to defend these slants and drags. Like these slants and drags are going to do a really good job of being able to give you answers against different types of match coverage. So if you get like cover 3 buzz match, as you see here, tight end drag, easy. And you're just easy. These are just easy 15 yards. So if they ever put cover 3 buzz match on your field, you're going to easily dot them up no matter really what they do. And then if they use with that, obviously the slant's open or the post open, you have answers. But in general, I just wanted to show like how easy it really is. And again, I don't think this is one of those games where you need to bomb every play or anything. Just be consistent offensively and take your wide open players. Now, another thing that I like about this play is what it can do for you specifically against zone and any kind of like cover 4 hard flat or things like that. So what I think makes this play really good is you have this clear out streak and then you have this flat pulling the flat defender. So you see how this slant goes into a really nice area that feels very difficult to switch stick. And then what we basically get here is we're going to get a ton of user conflict. The user has to kind of choose, am I going to carry the slant across or am I going to carry that backside post? So what you'll see again here is if we run this through, you're going to see, okay, they carry the slant. Well, now the post is wide open in behind it for a big play. So it's just a very simple play that just has answers. And then now let's say, okay, well, we're going to play cover 4 with purples and things like that. Well, remember, I said we're always looking at that drag. I call that an access throw. We're just looking at that quick, and if it pops, it pops. Honestly, the one thing that I think plays this the best is probably cover 2. However, that being said, if they do play cover 2 here, your drag is going to be open. As you see, you throw that drag, you get your 20 yards. That is a read you have to be willing to take, because that is then going to force them to adjust to that within their user, how they're using, and all of those elements. However, I will say that the cloud flat will do a good job at defending the slant, and then the mid read will do a decent job of defending the post. But generally speaking, the post is still available, or the running back as a check down read, kind of just depending a little bit on what they ultimately are going to use her. And then the main reason why I love this setup is because of this man coverage play right here. A lot of people like to run 2 hard flats. The problem is if you run 2 hard flats against this play, the slant route is just going to fry. As you see here, right? That slant just gets into a nice spot. Very difficult to defend that in man coverage. The zones are going to get pulled out. So there's just a lot of open space for the slant route to be able to work. And then if they, kind of same basic thing, but if they choose to use the slant, well, now they've got another problem because that post route is going to get open across the middle of the field. So just a good, simple play that does a really good job beating a variety of coverages. The next play we're going to be looking at from the doubles flex Y close formation is the play Y sail, and this play is money for a lot of different reasons. One of the quick things I wanted to tell you about this play is if you're going to stem this tight end corner route, whether it's up or down, I wanted to let you know, you can stem a route and then you can flip the route and the route will stay stemmed. What I like to do for my kind of first variation of this play, and the one that I like the most, is to stem the tight end corner all the way down and then basically just drag this backside receiver. Now, the reason this play is really good is because of, number one, this unique corner route, and number two, this slot fade. Also, you have a really cool running back table route that's really good as well, which we can do some stuff with. But this fade is so good. It's going to clear out a lot of space. It's going to give you answers. And this is really good. Specifically, why call this play if they are running cover 2 to the right? If they are cloud flatting the right side of the field, this is one of the best plays you can call against cover 2 because the slot fade will clear the deep half. The tight end corner is so good at getting over the cloud. And then you have this unique table route to the running back. And what that unique table route is going to do is really, regardless of what they do, that unique table route runs a little quicker, a little better than a standard table route. So he's going to get a little flatter. He gets outside. You see that soft squat gets affected. And now you have a wide open receiver over the top. So it's a huge aspect of this formation is really that running back table route. So what they basically have to do is effectively not call cover 2. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you about this play is the cover 3 cloud, because ultimately somebody will eventually run cover 3 cloud on you, and that outside third is going to be a factor. What's nice about Y sail is it has this unique corner route to the tight end, but it also has this unique fade. And because of this unique fade route, that fade route is going to clear over the top of that cover 3 cloud. And there's also a little window where you could potentially beat cover 3 for a one-play touchdown. It kind of depends a little bit on how their safeties are. If their safeties are backed off like this, they honestly are in a little better position to defend this than if their safeties are on close, which I'll cover that in just a moment. But what you're going to see here is that outside third kind of goes that tight end, and then there's this tight window that we can potentially hit over the top. Now, let's say that their safeties are on close and pinch. So let's say they're just down a little bit more like so, and they're a little bit more in the box. If those safeties are down a little bit more, because we have an in route on this left-hand side, this middle third will actually stop. He'll kind of freeze almost. And so you'll see that this becomes just a wide open cover 3 cloud killer. and you're able to hit this over the top for a one-play touchdown against cover 3 cloud. So that's if those safeties are kind of more pressed up a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. It's really, which most people do, by the way. Most people are going to have those safeties pressed up like that. And honestly, if the safeties are kind of even at their default depth, there is a window to throw this. And you'll see it right here, like just basically passing this up into the inside, a good rat catch, and that's going to be a touchdown. That is such a powerful route. It's a route that you need to be throwing in this formation because it makes it really difficult for them to consistently play cover 2 or cover 3 cloud over the top of the corner outside, which then means they're going to have to switch stick a lot, and that opens up some other problems for them. So let's talk about cover 4 and cover 3 for this play. What's nice about this play is it does attack both of those coverages. So with cover 4, for example, you're going to see that tight end corner, you really need to throw that down into the outside. As you can see right there, the quarter is going to play the route, but there's a couple of things with that. So remember, this guy right here is probably going to be expecting, right? He's going to be expecting that like post route over the middle or something like that. And so because you have a running back on the speed flat, the running back will actually pull the flat. And if the user stays a little bit more middle, you can kind of throw this right in here before he gets to the quarter. That's one option, right? Another option is just a small variation on this setup, and it is something that I love. If they're running a lot of cover 4, I'm just going to slot fade this guy right here, and then now I have a deep corner and a slot fade. The beauty of this is the slot fade will clear out cover 4 really well, and then that deep corner will get over the top of any kind of quarter flat or curl flat, which makes it a super good route to be able to have, when attacking cover 4 or cover 3. Now, if they are in a cover 3 coverage, let's say, for example, maybe they're doing a cover 3 like this, where they have a cover 2 over here on this left-hand side. What I want you to see here is there is going, the user is kind of sitting right in here, right? But that's kind of a standard cover 3. What happens against cover 3 is because cover 3 is not, because cover 3 only has 3 deep defenders, the middle or the outside thirds, they're going to pinch in a little bit more. And so what you're going to see here is, number 1, you can throw your table route against a purple zone, as you saw right there. But number 2, if it's just a basic vanilla cover 3, the slot fade or the stock fade that this guy's on right here will do a pretty good job of just clearing out space for that. And you can throw that just like that. Another thing I want to quickly mention about cover 3 is that same basic thing that we were just talking about is if they are in a cover 3 like this, where the safeties are a little closer to the line of scrimmage, you have a chance to be able to hit this this slot or this solo receiver on his stock fade. So you'll see how kind of like throw this and there they actually played it perfectly fine. So it's not one of those things where you can force it. Obviously the tight end was wide open because they sucked to the deep route. So just keep that in mind. The other thing about this is, let's say they switch stick you. Haven't really got into this yet. So if they are switch sticking around a lot, really what you want to do is work this backside high-low. So if they switch stick to the right, you're just going to get right back to the left side, work that backside high-low, and you're really looking for, that in route right there in that little soft spot of the field. That in route is going to get into a different area of depth than, for example, like the PA snag route would. That is why another thing that I'll do from time to time, this isn't like we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but what I will do is I will do a something like this. And the reason why I like this play, or you can honestly even do like a crosser. I know it looks a little weird, but the reason why I like this setup is primarily because of this table route. If they're not hard flatting on this right-hand side, like this table route is a really, really good route. It also still does a good job of pulling for zones. So, if they are playing good defense, then this is basically just another variation of like that smash return idea. And then basically what that's going to do is they have to shade the yellows down. So if they don't shade the yellows down, as you see, like tight end drag is money. We already kind of talked about it, but tight end drag is money. Return route's going to be money underneath. So now they shade down in a cover 4, and those yellow zones, one of which is going to be their user, they now have to play this, deep in route that kind of gets into a soft spot of the coverage there. So anyway, that's kind of how I'll use that from time to time. Another thing that I'll do with Y sail that I don't do out of everything, but I do it out of Y sail a lot, is I love to motion the running back out on this one. So because I have this unique tight end corner, what I like to do is stem the tight end corner down, and then I'm going to do a slot fade, and then I'm going to motion that running back out on just a basic out route. So it looks like this. You could stem the out route down if you want to, but you don't really need to. Just run the basic out route. But essentially, it's a quick read, right? I'm just going to peek out there. Can I throw that out route? If I can, I'm going to take it. If not, I'm going to quickly get to that backside drag. The reason why is because, again, this is the user here. So the user's in a lot of conflict. So let's say, they go hard flat, and then let's say this guy goes to the tight end, and you kind of see how this plays out. But if that user goes up to that tight end, you could honestly leave this running back on his route too, by the way. And you can leave, you could call the play like this, or you could call it like this. Either way. But what basically happens is if they go to that tight end, well, now this guy is going to be wide open because that flat gets pulled significantly quicker because of the motion to the back. Another use for the play Y sail is to simply streak your tight end. So what this is going to do is the tight end streak and the running back and the drag. This is really going to attack those seams. And so what's good about this is if they're shading down in yellows, a lot of times this seam streak will just basically be wide open for you to be able to hit. It also is going to do a really job, which I forgot to show you here, is let's say you get a look like this. You can actually throw this little slot route in a really tight spot, as you see right there. Just kind of gets into a tight window. Another thing this is good for is cover two. So if they do run a cover two, a lot of times you see how that mid read is kind of in no man's land. Well, what I should have done there was check it down to the drag. But it's just another simple little variation that is really, really good. And you see that if the yellow backs up, then you can just throw that drag in that soft spot, which is the key thing to look for. It's if you are getting a cover two, right? If you are getting a cover two and that yellow zone drifts, he drifts back to cover the tight end, then I want you to hit this right, just a quick throw right in that little pocket. Very hard to defend play, and something that I really like out of that Y sail play. That's another one that I'll do. One of the lesser, I think just one of the plays that I like a lot out of Y sail would actually be a simple flat route, in route like this, something like this, and then a return route. It's a really horizontal passing concept, but it's really wide. Everything is just open. You're just going to see this just spaces out super well. What I would probably honestly do is drag the tight end, but something like this, you're not going to have a clear out streak, but that flat pulls that guy over, and then this is wide open over the middle. And so kind of, again, back to the same old, but if they shade down, right, that just opens up this little window where we can now hit. You see there's the shade down, but look at how open, right? Look how open that outside receiver to the left, ultimately is against this. Another thing that I'll do out of Y sail is I will do a short corner, like a tight end apprentice corner. This one is the purpose of the short corner is primarily just because it's going to get a little better spacing against cover four. So if they're running a lot of cover four, I would do something like that. The other thing I forgot to mention is that what's nice about this specific fade is you got a couple different options against man coverage. So what a lot of people like to do in this game is they like to route commit to the inside. And so when they do that, the tight end corner just fries. You got to throw it right as he cuts, which I did not do there. But let's set it up like this. But essentially, right when that tight end corner is going to cut, whoops, messed it up, accidentally blocked him. He will get this kind of speedy corner route like that, and you see how it kind of pops man coverage. It's really good against man. Obviously, if they user that, you hit your drag, you hit your backside in route. You have answers for other things, but that is a key route in this offense for sure. The next play that we focus on out of the doubles flex Y close formation is the play flood H post. This is a play that has a ton of different ways in which it can be ran, even after EA kind of slowed down the power of the short corner route. So one of the best setups to me is, again, if they're in like cover 4, cover 3 hard flat, would be this basic one where we just streak the tight end, drag this outside receiver, and then if you want a swing route or table route, it's up to you, whichever way. But this short corner is really good against man, and it's really good against like cover 4. You'll see it kind of throw it like a back shoulder, and that outside quarter is just never going to defend that very well. And so you can kind of see how we can just, kind of see the chess match. But it's like if they're running cover 4, cover 3, we just pepper them with the short corners. And then if they run cover 2, we hit them with the deeper corner. And it makes it so that basically they're going to have to consistently worry about this tight end side, which then allows us to just throw basic combos here backside, as you see right there. What typically that you're looking for on that left side is you are looking to see, does that slot receiver get jammed and rerouted, or do they like bring the zones up? If they don't bring the zones up, you're going to hit this drag. So it's one of those routes that I love to just kind of look over here, see if I can hit that in that little pocket right there before he gets to the right side. The user's probably going to go to the tight end and take away the seam streak, right? Some of those same things are true. Like for example, if we're getting a cover 3 cloud look, you can hit this tight end if they fall asleep with their user. So if that user does not go to the tight end, you see, I can hit this, in that soft spot. So anyway, I have that. And then obviously now we're able to, kind of put them in a position where they have to play cover 4 hard flat, right? That's kind of what we're luring them into, is they have to kind of play that type of coverage. And they have to basically switch stick this corner route. So if they switch stick the corner route to the right, then we're going to hit this post kind of in that little pocket right there, as you see, kind of gets into a unique spot against the defense that way. So this is also a really probably one of my favorite plays against man, because so many people, the way they play man is they shade inside. But this short corner route is going to be a little bit more consistent at beating man. You see how he kind of bends that corner, and he just kind of gets that sharp cut and is able to oftentimes get easy separation against man coverage consistently. And that's why, that's one of the main plays that I feel like you definitely have to have. If they do run a cover 2, a couple different things. Number one, if you're running this with the tight end to the wide side of the field, this corner route can clear a cloud. But as you see, you kind of have to have everything line up. For example, you have to have the tight end run his route, like he didn't run his route there. They might, what a lot of people like to do is put their zone drops on 10, but essentially here, as you see, you got to really kind of throw it and lead it upfield. The easier throw to make, though, and it kind of depends on how they user it, of course, but the easier throw to make against cover 2, especially if they're coming down on those drags, is this post. So you'll see this post kind of gets into a really unique spot right over the top of that corner. The other thing about that is if they shade down, remember their user has to go get this tight end route. So if they play super aggressive on the drag route, then they have to take the tight end, which then leaves, that backside post right in that soft spot as well. So anyway, you have that. You also have, like I said, other options that are really, really good against man coverage. What's nice about this is a short post that he's on, so he will beat man. The drag will normally beat man, but that short post, you'll see he kind of gets on top of him, and then, he's able to cut horizontally. And what's nice about this is going to pair with some of the other plays in the playbook, as far as, kind of taking advantage of this play in terms of its capability to beat man coverage. But essentially, you'll see here, like, pass laid down inside, possession, catch that. Keenan Allen's got to catch the ball. But assuming that, the man coverage isn't crazy, normally that's a great man beating route. And then if they, for whatever reason, are able to defend it, that means that some of our other plays are going to be wide open, because that means that they're route committing to the inside. So in general, this is a powerful play because it has answers for man and it has answers for zone. Now, one of my favorite ways to beat man here is this next setup, kind of an all-out man-beating concept. But what I like about this one is you have this curl. These stemmed up curls are so good. Like just stem the curl up one, and then you're going to have a drag, a streak, and then you can really do whatever you want with the running back. Like you could put him on a table route, so you have a high-low read, or you could put him on a Texas route, so you have another man-to-man coverage beater. You know, really whatever you want to do with the running back is fine with me. I normally just put him on a flat, but effectively against man coverage, you know, if they play hard flats, we can just throw that curl on the cut. If you want to use a comeback route, you can use a comeback route as well. You're going to get kind of the same behavior. So another variation of this play, right, would be to use a comeback route. Now you see the flat gets pulled down by that tight end drag, and then that comeback route on the sideline. So then what that does is for them to be able to stop that, they have to now play curl flats. And then when they play curl flats, you're going to see right here that there's problems, obviously, with that, because now the tight end drag is able to threaten the underneath area. So it just really does a good job of putting stress over there. And then obviously the other thing that you can do, let's say you know for a fact that they're playing man coverage, like you're really sure that it's man. One of the things that you could do is run that same exact combination, use that table, use the Texas and actually just leave the corner. Now pretty much every single route on the play is going to give you a good answer against man-to-man coverage. And if they're playing you in man-to-man coverage, you know, you're gonna be able to easily move the ball. Same thing here with like a cover two man situation, basically exactly the same thing. Cover two man will probably defend this one the best, but you have that sharp corner. As you see, it's why I like to have that sharp corner, because sharp corners pretty much in general are always pretty good at beating man coverage. So pretty much always good at consistently being able to attack man-to-man coverage, and that's why I love to obviously use them. So that's another setup that I really like out of Flood H Post. As far as like zone coverage with that one that we were talking about, you know, something like this, take a look at how the tight end drag pulls the hard flat to the side, and late in the play, you can just check it down to this little curl. That's why I like that curl, because it's like a non-assuming. Most of the time, they're not going to think you're going to throw it, but then you will. And then if they curl flat, then that means your tight end drag is wide open there to that left-hand side. And then let's say, you know, they switch stick over to that side, or their user goes over there. Well, now you have this high-low read back to this side where you see that post, you know, just gets into a really nice area of the field. Very difficult for them to be able to consistently defend it. Another one that I really like is kind of that same idea here, like this. The reason I like this one is this, again, just gives you kind of another answer against man, a little bit of a different way in which this is going to attack. You're going to get another answer against man coverage. So you see, you know, and then you also have that return route kind of late if you guess wrong and it ends up being zone. So that's another one that I like. But I ultimately really do love this little Texas route like this. And then even on the left side, occasionally doing just a straight up streak. The reason I like this is because if they cover for hard flat you, watch where this running back kind of gets to. He's going to get into a really soft spot of the zone. Very difficult to consistently be able to defend him. So that's another one that I really, really like out of the play, Flood H Post. I think a really basic one is just double drags like this, double drags on a corner and a post. Ridiculously simple combo, but if they're playing you in a lot of man coverage, it's a really, really nice one to be able to have access to. Another way that I will use this play situationally is I will do like a motion out running back. I would basically what you want to do is put the running back on the streak in the backfield and then motion him out like this. And then I would actually use like a zig or something. And then you can really do whatever you want on the back end of this, but essentially this is just going to create a really nice, you know, flood combination there. Because what most people do is they say, oh, you know, you've been motioning that running back out a lot and you put him on an out route. Well, now we're going to put him on a streak. And so if they're hard flatting, it really opens up this window right here for this corner route. So take a look at how wide open this is, especially when they hard flat out of a cover 4. So it's just a simple way in which, you know, we can kind of like do little things to basically just give just a little bit of a different look. The last of our like core plays that you definitely are going to be calling out of doubles flex WAF close is going to be the play motion angle wheel. Now there are some cool things you can do with this play, and we're going to be going over it here. So what you can do with this play is, first and foremost, if you're doing that trick that I was talking about where you're coming out in like a short side doubles and you're audibling into the wide side, what you could do is, as your running back is moving, you can actually put him on a wide receiver drag like this, and you see that it's going to create kind of like almost like a running back slide route. These routes are super, super good in this year's game. Now from there, what I'll do is I'll do like a drag on the backside so it's got a little mesh underneath, and then the play looks basically like this. But what you'll see is this running back just gets across the field really quickly, and if they don't have a hard flat, it's kind of hard to guard this route. And so that's why I really like it, because again, if you're kind of, this is a way in which you can kind of take advantage of this flip trick. Now, it's not the only route that you can have. He basically gets any slot receiver hot route, but I think the best one ultimately is to put him on this drag route right here. And then the other element of this is, let's say that you want to, run like a streak, and then let's say on the backside of this, you want to run like trying to think what I'd actually realistically run, basically like a curl and a return or something like this. Like this could be an easy setup that you have, but what's so nice, like I said, is the fact that that running back route just gets across and allows you to flood that left side, which is really important in this formation to be able to do that. Now, the other element of this is, I was talking about it before, you're going to get a lot of cover for hard flat when you run this offense, to the left side at least. And so this setup is also still just amazing. It's a drag on the outside guy and then a streak on the running back. And basically what we're looking for is, if that slot defender is on a hard flat, your corner route will be open for like a little back shoulder throw like that. And then if he's on a curl flat or a seam flat, what's going to happen is he's either going to press him, or he's going to get so much depth that it's going to leave this drag. So you see, boom, there's a drag. And that's a way that you can kind of play a little two-man game on that simple defender read of like, is he pressing him? Is he rerouting him? Is he matching him? No. Okay, then I can throw the corner. If he is carrying, then I can throw that drag underneath. Makes the game really easy. Now, when you can have quick reads like this, you see, boom, I'm just reading that one player, and it's simple, right? The other thing about this, like I said, is if they're in a cover 3 or a cover 4 hard flat, now what you're able to hit here is this corner kind of back shoulder, just like that, almost like a speed out basically, but a little bit better. The other element of this, as I was saying, against man coverage, is if they're running man coverage on you and they're route committing to the inside because of flood H post, now you have that corner route on that same receiver. And so you see how that route, can basically deliver answers against man coverage, right? Specifically, if there's not a flat defender as well on that side, which again, most people, right, they're going to blitz you or they're going to send 4. You're not going to get a ton of send 3, right? And so anyway, that's just a really, really simple route that does a really good job when they route commit inside. And then because, remember, we have like flood H post, because of flood H post, they might, take this outside guy and route commit him to the outside because they're like, he's going to run a short corner. And so if they're doing something like that, that's where this crosser, is just lethal. And it's a crosser that is kind of sneaky how good this crosser is. And it's one of those things, it doesn't necessarily have to route commit for this crosser to win. This crosser can win against man anyway. But if you throw this in the right spot, you'll get a rack catch, and he will just kind of get that little like speed burst and just put yourself in a really good position to be able to basically get a potential one-play touchdown against cover 0. So you really want to throw it like right on the cut, right in there. You see there's that rack catch type of animation, and it just gives you, kind of a key play, a key route that I think is definitely helpful. And then the other thing that I was going to talk about is, we talked about the user. So let's say that the user kind of goes to the crosser, then you have this running back seam streak that, has just been super good. You see the tight end pulls him out, that guy goes in, and bada bing, bada boom, you have a really effective way, to kind of stress that side of the field as well. The one thing with this play is sometimes you can get a cover 3 beater out of this. It's a little hard. I don't know. It's not 100% consistent, but basically, sometimes this guy can just perfectly hit this cover 3 in the seam. It's a tight throw, but if we go back to kind of that example I was talking about before, where they're maybe running like a cover 3 hard flat here, and maybe they switch stick this guy to go guard the corner or whatever, then it does definitely leave the door open for this crosser to kind of get into a super soft spot of the defense. This crosser is also really good against cover 2, which I'll cover that in a minute. But you see how he just kind of crosses the face of that middle third, and then there's this little window to be able to hit it. The other thing about this play is this is one of my personal favorite plays against match coverage. We just have a lot of good answers for match coverage in this. But if they're in like a cover 4 quarters or something, what happens on this play, if I can find the play here, motion angle wheel, is if they're in that match coverage, what'll typically happen is the safety basically has to make a decision. And a lot of times the safety will end up being wrong. So as you see there, he's kind of like in no man's land. And it's one of those things where it goes back to like, are they on close and pinch or not? Because if the safeties are more down in the box, there's a lot better of a chance that the safeties will basically dumb out. Another thing you can do, if you don't like this crosser, put him on a post. And what'll happen a lot is that post, you see that post kind of gets that separation there. The other element of this that I wanted to break down as far as match coverage goes is really this tight end wheel and kind of how they react to everything. But late in the play, the running back can be an option as well against match coverage. As you kind of see how that running back's kind of clearing that safety. That running back just gets into a really, kind of odd area of the field. And a lot of times, especially if they adjust their match at all, this is just one of those plays that I like to have. I love that throw right there. Like, that's such a tight throw. But it kind of depends on how they're usering, because most people that play match, they're going to user this guy. And let's say they kind of stay down a little bit, or they don't get depth on this route. If they don't get the depth on the route, you can throw this before. And what a great example there. I forgot to hold the user down. But if they don't get depth on the route, right? If they don't get into that user area, then what happens is, a lot of times you can just throw this before he gets to that safety, and that could be an easy touchdown. The other thing about this play is cover 2. So the thing with cover 2 is a lot of times people like to use the mid read. Kind of the same principle. If they don't get the depth with the mid read, this corner will pull the deep half, and then the wheel will pull the other deep half. And so what you'll see is against cover 2, you can kind of threaten that seam, threaten that deep middle area of the field that they have to somewhat be concerned with, with being able to, attack. So anyway, that is kind of, those are the main setups that I have for this play. Another one that I really like is the motion out of the running back on a streak. So it just looks like this. The reason I like this one a lot is because this further complicates the match coverage aspect of things. And a lot of times you'll just have players running, completely wide open against match coverage. One of the more important coverages to be able to beat consistently is cover 2. And this play, Motion HB Out, is really effective at doing just that because it has a unique fade route on this left side receiver. So what I like to do with this one is kind of similar. Again, we have some options here. One of my favorite things to do is you're going to see here that same idea I was talking about with the flip trick. When you flip, you can put that running back on a drag when he crosses the face of the quarterback like that. And then what I'm going to basically do here is, I'm going to create a cover 2 beater. So the way that you're going to beat cover 2 is you're going to streak this guy on the left, the slot receiver. And then on the right side, you can kind of do this however you want. If you have this drag route, a couple different options, right? A simple return route and a post route are just fine, right? In general, what's going to happen is against cover 2, even if it's a cloud flatted cover 2, this guy right here is going to get separation. He's going to do a really good job of attacking the cover 2. Now, if you want to run this play and you don't want to do what I did with the flipping and you just want to like call the play, you don't want to have to do the flip trick, that is totally fine. What I would do in that case is I would go ahead and drag that tight end. I would return route this outside guy, and then you could do a couple different things with your running back. You could flat him. We talked about that already. You could put him on a post. We haven't talked about that, or you could put him on the Texas. What's nice about the Texas is it kind of times out really, really well, and it gives you a 3 a three-man read on the back end of this. The main reason why you want to make sure that you are dragging the tight end if you're not going to put the running back on that route over there to the left is primarily, and you could even do something like this. The main reason you want to put that tight end on the drag, though, is because the soft squad, if he matches, then you can just throw, that tight end down there and you can just get easy yardage. The other thing, though, that happens is because we're running this to the short side, the tight end will normally get across the field fast enough. And so the tight end gets across the field fast enough. And then basically this fade gets separation even against cover two soft squad. As you see, kind of goes down the sideline like that right there. That time the deep half kind of went crazy and played honestly out of his mind. But another thing that you have is you could do like a little crosser if you want to do a crosser. You see how that mid read is going to the middle of the field. Sometimes he'll actually leave that slot wide open. Didn't do it right there, but just wanted to show you that. And then, but really the main thing, like I said, the whole purpose of this play 100% is to beat cover two. Like that's the whole idea. If they run cover two, I want to be able to hit that fade and take advantage of kind of that whole shot within a cover two shell in the doubles offense.